Yoganjalisaram is this book by Krishnamacharya that we're studying at the moment. We're on the second verse. Drink daily the nectar of Yoganjalisaram. Jalisaram means the teachings and the essence of yoga. Drink daily the nectar of Yoganjalisaram. Dwell in the eternal while doing asana. Regulate your breath through pranayama, and meditate always on the Immortal One dwelling in the cave of the heart. Those are pretty good instructions for basically doing yoga. Drink daily the nectar of Yoganjalisaram. So basically he's saying this is a text which is like gives you lots of information and ways of living, ways of practicing, ways of understanding yoga. So if you it's a bit like saying, and it's all based on the Yoga Sutras, Patanjali's Yoga Sutra. So it's a bit like saying, every day, do your sadhana, do your spiritual practice, whatever that may be. Asana and pranayama for the yogi, and meditation is part of that practice. If you do it daily, you don't forget as much. So it reminds you continually of your yoga practice, and it reminds you continually of who you are, why you're here, and what the purpose of your life is. And I talked a bit about that last week. Dwell on the eternal while doing asana. So he doesn't say, do asana for your health, do asana to be flexible, do asana for any other reason. He says, do asana as prayer. So while you're doing asana, you're meditating on God, the eternal, in whatever form that manifests for you. That's the idea of asana. When my teacher Swami Govindananda is about to teach an asana class, he doesn't say, now we'll do some asana. He says, now we'll pray. And then you do the asana class. And how do you pray in asana? You pray by meditating on two things. The first thing is the sound of the breath. So following the Ujjayi sound of the breath, the Ujjayi being the mantra that you're using in your asana practice. When you breathe in, the mantra is so, and when you breathe out, the mantra is hum. The so hum mantra is a manifestation of Om, the primordial mantra in the sound of your breath. So every time you breathe in and breathe out, you are repeating the mantra Om, and that is a manifestation of the eternal or of the divine. That is what you're doing when you do an asana practice. And then the other thing that makes it devotional, and is particular to this practice as well, is the default chin down position in much of the practice, with the eyes closed, looking into the heart. So when you do that, you're focusing on the seat of the soul, which is in the Hridaya, or the Anahata chakra, whatever you want to call it, or the Pranasthana, all the same thing, in the center of the chest, just in front of the spine. So these energetic connections with the breath and also with the gaze point in the body being predominantly down towards the heart, these are ways of making the asana practice more devotional. And asana practice is a devotional practice. Regulate your breath through pranayama. So pranayama means taking the energy that you kind of refine and move through the body in the asana practice by doing different movements and then holding the bodies in different ways. What you're doing is concentrating the prana or the energy in different parts of your body. And these different parts of your body are called chakras. There's the main chakras you have in the spine, which I'm sure you've all heard of, but there are many, many other chakras in the body, which are also called marmasthanas, different places in the fingertips, in the wrists, in the shoulders, in the knees, in the hips, in the perineum, in the center of the navel, in the throat pit, in the back throat, in the soft palate, in the upper palate, in the third eye, in the crown of the head, etc. All these places in the body are stimulated by doing different asana. And then what you do when you do pranayama is you take the breathing practices, you take that energy and you refine it. And you balance it in the left and the right side of the body, in the Ida and the Pingala Nadi, which are the two main channels that run in the body. And you also, by doing alternate nostril breathing, balance out the energies in the left and the right hemisphere in the brain. So pranayama and asana are these two very closely interlinked things which are done together. There's not a practice which is just asana and a practice which is just pranayama. They're two things which support each other, and together they do the final thing. He says, and meditate always, and meditate always on the immortal one dwelling in the cave of the heart. So asana and pranayama, when you get that prana right, they make meditation easy. So the final stage and the purpose of yoga is meditation. And if you do asana and pranayama, meditation's easy because you don't have to struggle with your mind, because the prana, your mind is just prana, thoughts are just prana, they're just little bundles of energy. You've smoothed that all out. You've made it sattvic, you've made the mind pure, the mind focused, the mind's now easy to concentrate. It's easy for the mind to concentrate. So you can drop into meditation. And this is the process of the limbs of yoga. Asana, pranayama, pratyahara, drawing the mind in, dharana, concentrating the mind, dhyana, meditation, focusing the mind comfortably on one thing, and then eventually samadhi, absorption of the mind. So this is what Krishnamacharya is saying. Do this and do it every day. And then you will be, you'll be able to deal with life better. You'll be happier. And the reason you'll be happier is because you won't forget as much. You'll be continually returning to the feeling and the energy that you create in your daily practice. And once you develop devotion in a daily practice, then you can carry that devotional attitude into the way you live your life. That's the idea. It doesn't just stop when you get off the yoga mat and walk into the world. You carry that practice with you, the way you breathe, the way you move, the way you think, the way you're able to keep your mind calm and steady. One of the reasons that asana practice can be quite difficult and quite challenging is because it teaches you to be able to approach a situation where you can control the tendency to want to be agitated or to get out of something or to get a bit frustrated and angry with your breath. And then when you can control that with your breath, it controls your mind. You can keep your mind calmer. And then when things like that happen in your daily life, you use your practice. It's a tool. Anyway, that's kind of what he's on about here. Drink daily the nectar of Yoganjalisaram. Dwell in the eternal while doing asana. Regulate your breath through pranayama. And meditate always on the immortal one, dwelling in the cave of your heart. Namaste.